Life is not a calm sea. It is an unpredictable ocean full of sudden storms that can destroy the best laid plans. Adversity, uncertainty, chaos are not exceptions. They are fundamental conditions of our existence. In the face of these storms, most people cling to the wreckage of their boats, swept away by the waves of their fears and circumstances. They become victims of the weather. But others are different. Others, in the midst of the same storm, stand firm. Not because the storm doesn't hit them, but because they have built something inside. A fortress. That inner fortress, that impregnable refuge in the midst of chaos, is an unbreakable mind. And it is not a gift you are born with. It is a structure that is built, piece by piece, decision by decision. We have been taught to believe it is built with brute effort, with an iron will that strains and exhausts itself. But iron, under enough pressure, breaks. True strength is not rigid. It is resilient. This audiobook is the blueprint for that fortress. Here, we will unite the timeless wisdom of the Stoic philosophers, the greatest masters of inner strength, with the proven tools of modern neuroscience and psychology. You will learn not only the philosophical why, but the practical how to forge a calm, a clarity, and a determination that no external storm can conquer. The world will continue to send waves. The question is not whether they will come, but whether you will be ready. It's time to stop being a castaway. It's time to become the fortress. The construction of your fortress begins with a first act of intention. If you have felt the call to begin, let a like on this video be the first stone you lay. And by subscribing, you join this training to ensure you receive every blueprint and every tool for your work. Chapter 1. The Circle of Power. To build an unbreakable fortress, the first step is not to raise the walls. It is not to dig a moat or recruit an army. The first step, the most fundamental of all, is to draw a line on the ground. A clear, sharp, and absolute line. A line that separates the territory that belongs to you and over which you have total sovereignty, from the vast and uncontrollable world that extends beyond your borders. This is the foundational lesson of mental fortitude, a wisdom distilled almost 2,000 years ago by one of the most extraordinary masters of resilience, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. Epictetus's own story is a lesson in inner power. He was born a slave in the Roman Empire. His body belonged to another man. His external circumstances were completely out of his control. And yet in the midst of that lack of freedom, he discovered the greatest freedom of all: sovereignty over his own mind. He became one of the most influential thinkers of his time, teaching emperors and citizens alike the secret of a mind that cannot be broken. And his secret, the architectural blueprint of his entire philosophy, is summarized in a single and powerful distinction. Some things are under our control, and others are not. This phrase, in its overwhelming simplicity, is the line we must draw in the sand of our own lives. It is the foundation upon which all inner strength is built. To understand it, and above all, to live it, is the art of ceasing to waste our energy fighting useless battles and beginning to focus it with laser precision on the only territory where we can always win, that of our own inner kingdom. Your sovereign kingdom. What is under your control? First, let's clearly define the boundaries of your circle of power, the territory over which you are an absolute monarch. Contrary to what our ego leads us to believe, this territory is surprisingly small, but infinitely powerful. It consists of only three things. First, your judgments and perceptions. Faced with any external event, what disturbs you is not the event itself, but your judgment about it. If someone insults you, the insult, the sound waves traveling through the air, is an external event, out of your control. But your judgment that those words are offensive, hurtful, or unacceptable is a purely internal process. It is a story you tell yourself, and you have the absolute power to change that story. You can choose to see it as an attack, or you can choose to see it as the irrelevant opinion of a confused person. The event does not change. Your experience of it does. Second, your impulses and aversions. You feel the urge to eat something unhealthy. You feel an aversion to starting a difficult task. These impulses and aversions often arise automatically, but the decision to act on them, to give your consent, is 100% under your control. You can observe the urge to procrastinate, acknowledge it, and still, deliberately choose to start working. The appearance of the impulse is outside your control. Your response to it is within. And third, and most important, your decisions and your will. Your ability to choose your values, to act with integrity, to decide who you want to be, moment by moment. This is the essence of your freedom. Circumstances can limit your external options, but they can never, ever take away your freedom to choose your response. As Viktor Frankl, another master of resilience, wrote from a concentration camp, "The last of the human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." These three elements, your judgments, your impulses, and your will, form your inner citadel. Within this circle, your power is total. The external chaos, what is not under your control. Now let's look with brutal honesty at everything that lies outside that line, practically everything else. Your body. You can influence it with diet and exercise, but you don't control aging, sudden illness, genetics, or your final mortality. Your possessions and wealth. You can work hard, but you don't control the economy, a market crisis, a new competitor, or a natural disaster. The opinions of others. This is one of the greatest sources of suffering. You can be the kindest and most principled person in the world, and yet you cannot control whether others like you, respect you, or what they say about you behind your back. Their perception is their kingdom, not yours. The results of your actions. This is the most subtle and powerful distinction. You control your intentions and your actions. You do not control the results. An expert archer controls their posture, their breathing, their aim, and the moment they release the arrow. They do not control the sudden gust of wind that can deflect the arrow from its target. The source of all peace and all suffering. By drawing this line, the cause of all human anxiety and frustration is revealed with crystal clarity. All our suffering is born from a simple and tragic error in judgment. We try to control what we cannot, while neglecting the only thing we can control. We suffer when we try to force our partner to change, a territory outside our control, instead of focusing on being a more compassionate and understanding partner ourselves, our own kingdom. We suffer when we obsess over the uncertainty of the economy, outside our control, instead of focusing on our savings discipline and our ability to adapt, our own kingdom. We suffer when we are distressed by what others think of us, outside our control, instead of focusing on acting with an integrity that makes us proud of ourselves, our own kingdom. Unbreakable peace is not a mood you seek. It is the result of a strategy. It is the natural consequence of focusing 100% of your energy, your attention, and your will on your circle of power, and of cultivating a serene and detached acceptance of everything that happens outside of it. Practice drawing your circle of power. Exercise 1. The control inventory. This is a tool to apply Epictetus's clarity to your real problems. Step A. Choose a situation in your life that is causing you stress or anxiety right now. Write it at the top of a page in your journal. Step B. Draw a large circle in the center of the page. Step C. Inside the circle, list all the aspects of this situation that are 100% under your control. These are usually your actions, your responses, your thoughts, and your decisions. Be specific. Step D. Outside the circle, list all the aspects of this situation that are completely out of your control. These are usually the actions of other people, the final results, past events, or external circumstances. Step E. Contemplate your drawing. Where have you been putting most of your mental and emotional energy? Outside the circle, in the area of powerlessness? Or inside the circle, in the area of power? This exercise visually shows you where you need to redirect your focus to move from anxiety to effective action. Exercise 2. The detachment mantra. This is your tool for day-to-day life, for small frustrations. The next time you face an external event that bothers you, a traffic jam, a critical comment, a plan that gets canceled, pause before you react. Take a deep breath and mentally repeat the Stoic mantra. This is out of my control. My response is under my control. This simple act creates a space between the stimulus and your response, allowing you to choose a conscious reaction instead of being hijacked by an automatic emotion. It returns you to the center of your power. The first and most important wall of your inner fortress is this dividing line between what you can control and what you cannot. Defending this border, patrolling it every day with your awareness, is the main duty of the guardian of an unbreakable mind. Chapter 2. The Inner Citadel. Build your mental refuge. A border alone isn't enough to guarantee peace. We must now build the capital of this kingdom. We must erect a fortress at the center of our being, a citadel so impregnable that no storm, no matter how violent, can ever break its walls. This is the central metaphor of the emperor-philosopher Marcus Aurelius, who, as the most powerful man in his time, spent his nights on cold battlefields not planning military strategy, but writing in his journal about how to fortify his own mind. He called it the inner citadel. People seek retreats for themselves, he wrote, in the country, by the sea, on the mountains. But all this is of the most common sort, when it is open to you, at any time you choose, to retire into yourself. Because nowhere can a man find a retreat more peaceful or more free from trouble than in his own soul. What is this inner citadel? It's a state of mind. It's a space of calm, clarity, and perspective that we deliberately cultivate within. It is not an escape from reality, but a refuge in the midst of reality. It is the tranquil eye of the hurricane. The external world can be chaotic, but inside your citadel, you remain at peace, observing the storm from the battlements. Building this fortress is not a physical act, but a form of mental training. It is built upon 3 fundamental pillars. The first pillar, the mastery of perception, the main gate. The gateway to your citadel is your own perception. As Epictetus taught us, it is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Your perception is the drawbridge. You, and only you, decide which thoughts and interpretations are allowed inside your fortress, and which are kept outside. The guardian of this gate is your faculty of assent. This is your ability to grant or deny your consent to an initial impression. For example, your boss walks into your office with a frown. Your mind's first impression is, he's angry with me. I've done something wrong. My job is in danger. This is the first assault on your citadel. The untrained guardian opens the gate wide, accepting this first impression as an absolute truth. In an instant, panic and anxiety invade the fortress. The trained guardian, however, pauses. They observe the impression without identifying with it, and they say to themselves, an impression has arrived. My boss is frowning. That is the only objective truth. The story that he is angry is just that, a story. I refuse to give it my assent until I have more information. By doing this, you have kept the drawbridge up and maintained your calm. You remain in your citadel, observing the event from the safety of your walls. The mastery of perception is the art of separating objective facts from the subjective narratives we build around them. The second pillar, impermanence as a watchtower. From the top of your citadel, you have a panoramic view, and from this watchtower, you learn to see reality not as a series of isolated, dramatic events, but with the vast perspective of time. This is the practice of contemplating impermanence. When we are in the midst of a crisis, it feels eternal. We believe the pain or uncertainty will last forever. This is an illusion of perspective. The Stoic climbs their watchtower and reminds themselves of a universal truth. This too shall pass. Remember the catastrophes of your past. That breakup you thought you'd never get over. That professional failure that felt like the end of the world. Where are they now? They are merely scars, memories, lessons learned. They passed. Contemplate the immensity of time. Think of the Roman Empire. Their dramas, which once seemed like the center of the universe, are now just dust on the pages of history. Contemplate yourself from space, a tiny being on a small planet. This practice, called the view from above, doesn't aim to make you feel insignificant. It gives you a liberating perspective. It puts your current problems into their true dimension. You realize that your current crisis, no matter how overwhelming, is just a passing cloud in the sky of existence. This perspective does not eliminate the problem, but it dissolves the anxiety and panic that accompany it, allowing you to approach it with immense calm and wisdom. The third pillar, the practice of virtue as an internal law. A fortress isn't just defensive walls. It's a city with its own laws. The law that governs the inner citadel is the practice of virtue. For the Stoics, happiness and tranquility don't come from external things, but from living in accordance with our own rational and social nature. This is achieved through 4 cardinal virtues. Wisdom, the ability to discern what is good from what is bad, and to navigate life with clarity. Justice, acting with honesty, fairness, and kindness toward others. Courage, not just physical, but the moral courage to face your fears and do the right thing. Temperance, self-control, the ability to govern your own desires. When you face a difficult situation, once you have mastered your perception and gained perspective, the final question you ask yourself from your citadel is, what does virtue demand of me in this moment? This question shifts your focus from, what can I get from this, to, what kind of person do I want to become? It gives you an internal code of conduct independent of external results. You can lose the battle, but if you act with virtue, you never lose the inner war. Your self-esteem and inner peace become unconditional because they depend on your actions, which are under your control, not on the results. Practice, fortifying your citadel. Exercise 1, the gatekeeper. This is your daily practice for mastering perception. During the day, whenever you feel a wave of strong negative emotion, anger, anxiety, frustration, pause. Name the initial impression. The impression that my colleague has disrespected me has arrived. Now, as the gatekeeper, challenge that impression. Separate the fact from the story. The fact, my colleague said X. The story, he did it to humiliate me. Then, deny assent to the story. Say internally, this is just an impression, not reality itself. I refuse to let it in until I have more information. This creates a vital space between the stimulus and your response. Exercise 2, the mental time travel. This is your practice for cultivating perspective. When you feel overwhelmed by a problem, take this 3-stop mental journey. First stop, the past. Remember a problem from 5 years ago that seemed like a catastrophe. Observe how it has shrunk with the perspective of time. Second stop, the distant future. Project yourself 10 years from now. Look back at the present. How important will this current problem seem from that future perspective? Third stop, the cosmic view. Imagine yourself floating above Earth, seeing your life as a small point of light. How does your problem look from this vast perspective? This practice does not minimize your pain, but it contextualizes it, dissolving panic and the feeling of overwhelm. Exercise 3, the virtue journal. This is your practice for governing your citadel. Each night at the end of your day, dedicate 3 minutes to this stoic examination. Ask yourself, when did I act against virtue today? When was I unjust, cowardly, or when did I lose self-control? Acknowledge it without judgment, as data for improvement. And then, ask yourself, when did I act in accordance with virtue? When did I show wisdom, justice, courage, or temperance, even in a small way? Celebrate those small victories. You are reinforcing the identity of the person you want to become. Your mind doesn't have to be a battlefield at the mercy of invasions by circumstances. It can be a fortress, a refuge of peace, clarity, and unbreakable power. The world will continue to be noisy and chaotic. The storms will keep coming. But you, from the safety of your inner citadel, will be able to watch them pass. With the serene calm of a wise emperor who knows that the only kingdom that truly matters is the one he carries within. Chapter 3. The obstacle is the way. The alchemy of adversity. True, unbreakable strength is not one that hides from the storm, but one that learns to use the wind's energy to propel itself forward. We now arrive at the most active, bold, and transformative discipline of all Stoic philosophy. It is the principle that separates the mere survivor from the conqueror. It is the alchemical formula that transmutes the lead of suffering into the gold of power. It is summarized in one powerful phrase, popularized by author Ryan Holiday, which encapsulates the essence of all Stoic thought. The obstacle is the way. To the ordinary mind, an obstacle is, by definition, what stands in your way. It is the barrier that prevents you from reaching your destination. It is the enemy, the nuisance, the the bug in the system. Our instinctive reaction to an obstacle is frustration, complaint, and the search for a way to get around it. The Stoic sees the world in a radically different way. For them, the obstacle is not in the way. The obstacle is the way. It's not a distraction from the journey. It is the journey. Every difficulty, every crisis, every failure is not an impediment to your growth. It is the precise training material you need to grow. Think of a weightlifter. Do they see the 200-kilo weight as an obstacle to their goal of being strong? No. They understand that lifting that weight is the path to strength. Resistance is not something to be avoided. It is the indispensable condition for their transformation. The muscle does not grow in the comfort of rest. It grows in the tension of resistance. Your character, your resilience, your unbreakable mind operate under the same law. You don't become braver by reading books about courage. You become braver by facing your fears. You don't become more patient by waiting for the world to stop being frustrating. You become more patient by practicing calm in the midst of a traffic jam. The obstacle is the dojo. Adversity is your teacher. And life, with its infinite wisdom, will always present you with the exact obstacle you need to develop the weakest muscle inside you. This change of perspective is alchemy. It's the act of taking what the world throws at you, the ugly, the difficult, the unfair, and using it as raw material for your own greatness. It is a three-step process, an art the Stoics called the discipline of action. Step 1. Objective perception, seeing reality without drama. The first step is to apply what we learned about mastering perception. When you face an obstacle, your instinctive matrix mind immediately starts to weave a dramatic story around it. This is a catastrophe. I'll never get over it. It's the end of the world. This emotional narrative robs you of energy and prevents you from seeing the situation clearly. The alchemist's first job is to strip the obstacle of all this emotional baggage. It is to look at it with what the Stoics called a naked perception. Instead of, my company is on the verge of bankruptcy, it's a disaster, the naked perception is, sales have decreased by 30% this quarter, and cash flow is negative. We have a problem to solve. Instead of, I have received a terrible diagnosis, my life is over, the naked perception is, my body has a medical condition. I need to understand it and act accordingly. By separating the objective fact from the catastrophic story, you drain the obstacle's power to scare you. You transform it from a terrifying monster into a simple technical problem, a set of circumstances that must be addressed. Step 2. The search for opportunity, finding the opening. Once you have calmed your perception, the second step is to ask the question that defines the strategist. Within this obstacle, where is the opportunity? Every obstacle, without exception, contains a hidden advantage for you. Your job is to find it. If you have been laid off from your job, the obvious obstacle is the loss of income. But the hidden opportunity could be the freedom to finally start that business you always dreamed of, or to seek a career that is truly aligned with your purpose. If you suffer an injury that prevents you from practicing your favorite sport, the hidden opportunity could be to develop patience, or to strengthen other parts of your body and mind that you had neglected. If a business partner betrays you, the hidden opportunity is an invaluable lesson about human character and the importance of choosing your allies more wisely. Marcus Aurelius put it this way: the mind adapts and converts to its own purpose the obstacle to our action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Your mind is a transmutation machine. It can take the negative energy of an obstacle and use it as fuel for positive action. Step 3. Tenacious and creative action, moving on the way. Once you have found the opportunity, the last step is to act. But not with desperate or frantic action, but with a tenacious, creative, and persistent action. This is where we combine the strength of the oak with the flexibility of the willow. You are tenacious in your ultimate goal, in your determination to overcome the situation. You do not accept defeat as an option, and you are creative and flexible in your method. If the front door is closed, you look for a window. If the window is closed, you look for a crack in the wall. If the wall is impenetrable, you learn to climb it. Tenacious action is the art of iteration. You try one approach. If it doesn't work, you don't see it as a failure, but as data. You learn from it and try a new approach, and another, and another. with the persistence of a drop of water that, over time, is capable of piercing the hardest rock. Practices for turning the obstacle into the way. Exercise 1, the Reframing Journal. This is your tool for daily alchemy. Choose a small frustration or obstacle you face today. In your journal, first, describe it with naked perception, removing all emotional drama. Then, answer these 2 questions. What opportunity is this obstacle offering me? An opportunity to practice patience, to learn a new skill, to communicate more clearly, etc. What character muscle, virtue, is it inviting me to train? Courage, temperance, wisdom, justice. This exercise, practiced daily, reconfigures your brain so that by default, it stops seeing problems as threats and starts seeing them as opportunities for growth. Exercise 2, negative preparation, premeditatio malorum. This is the ultimate Stoic practice for robbing the future of its power to harm you. Each morning, dedicate 2 minutes to contemplating the possible obstacles that could appear in your day. Do not do it to generate anxiety, but to prepare yourself strategically. Imagine your important meeting is canceled, that your computer breaks down, that a client complains. For each possible obstacle, ask yourself the question, how could I use this to my advantage? How could I respond to this with virtue and calm? By mentally rehearsing adversity, when it actually occurs, it no longer takes you by surprise. You already have a plan. Your mind has already traveled that path and knows how to respond. You stop being reactive and become proactive. Exercise 3, the embrace of fate, amor fati. This is the peak of the Stoic mountain. It is the practice of not only accepting, but loving everything that happens to you, both good and bad. It is the understanding that every event in your life, without exception, is a necessary piece of the puzzle of your evolution. The next time you face an obstacle, after you have calmed your perception and sought the opportunity, try to go a step further. Try to feel, even for a moment, a strange form of gratitude for that challenge. Say internally, I accept this. I love this. This is the teacher I need at this moment. Thank you. This is not an easy practice, but it is the one that leads to true freedom. It is the one that allows you to find peace and power, not in spite of your circumstances, but because of them. Life is not putting obstacles in your way to stop you. It is putting them there for you to discover yourself. Every wall in your path is an invitation to grow tall enough to see over it. Every failure is a lesson. Every wound is an opportunity for alchemy. Chapter 4. The Energy Thief. The Paralysis of Indecision. We now arrive at one of the most silent and persistent energy leaks in modern life. A force that can drain your willpower without you having moved a single muscle. This force is chronic indecision. Indecision is not a simple pause for reflection. Reflection is an act of calm and clarity. Indecision is a state of civil war in the mind. It is the battlefield where 2 or more desires, fears, or possibilities fight for control, without any having enough strength to win. This internal conflict, this endless debate in the court of our consciousness, is one of the most energy-consuming activities. It's like having dozens of apps open on your phone, all running in the background, heating up the processor, and draining the battery without us doing anything productive. To overcome the paralysis of indecision, we must first understand its psychological roots. Indecision is rarely a problem of lack of information. In our era, we usually have an excess of it. Indecision is, almost always, a problem of fear. The first and deepest root is the fear of being wrong. This fear is born of perfectionism, that saboteur who masquerades as excellence. We cling to the illusion that if we just analyze a little more, gather one more piece of data, or ask one more friend for an opinion, we can find the perfect decision, the one that guarantees a successful outcome. But the perfect decision does not exist. It's a myth. In an uncertain world, no amount of analysis can guarantee the result. Indecision, therefore, becomes a strategy to avoid responsibility. As long as we don't decide, we can't be wrong. The problem is that we also can't be right. The second root is the fear of loss, a psychological principle known as loss aversion. Behavioral economists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky showed that the pain of losing something is, psychologically, twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining an equivalent something. Every decision is an act of renunciation. By choosing path A, you inevitably lose the possible benefits of paths B, C, and D. Our mind hates this feeling of loss. Indecision becomes a desperate attempt to avoid this pain, to keep all options open, to not have to give up anything. But the paradox is cruel. By trying not to lose anything, we often end up losing everything, especially opportunity, which is time-sensitive. The third route is the tyranny of options. We live in a world with an overwhelming number of possibilities. We believe that having more options makes us freer, but psychologist Barry Schwartz argued the opposite in his book, The Paradox of Choice. Too many options don't liberate, they paralyze. They increase the cognitive load of the decision, making the process more exhausting. Worse, they increase the probability of regret. If you choose between 3 options and yours doesn't work out, it's bad luck. If you choose between 300 and yours doesn't work out, you feel the blame is entirely yours for not having chosen better. The cost of not choosing is immense and is paid in the currency of our vitality and our potential. The first cost is the exhaustion of willpower. Every minute you spend debating a decision consumes the same energy you would need to act on it. You spend hours deciding whether or not to go to the gym, and by the time you finally decide to go, you no longer have the energy to work out. The second cost is the loss of opportunities. While you deliberate, the world moves on. The window of opportunity closes. The synchronicity train, which requires quick intuitive action, passes by your station. The universe rewards clarity and action, not infinite deliberation. And the third, most profound cost is the erosion of self-confidence. Every time you postpone a decision, you send a message to your subconscious. I don't trust my ability to choose. I'm not a leader, I'm a follower of circumstances. Chronic indecision creates an identity of powerlessness. You teach yourself that you are not the captain of your ship, but a mere passenger waiting for the wind to decide for you. The good news is that decision-making is a muscle, and it can be trained. The art of courageous decision-making is not about always being right, but about developing the ability to choose, act, and adapt with confidence. Practice the art of courageous decision-making. Exercise 1, the 70% rule. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, attributes much of his success to this principle. The rule is simple. Never wait to have 100% of the information to make a decision, because if you wait that long, it will almost always be too late. The goal is to gather information until you have about 70% of the certainty you'd like to have. That's the point at which you must make the decision and act. The remaining 30% uncertainty is not a risk you must eliminate, but the space where your ability to improvise, adapt, and correct your course on the fly can shine. Give yourself permission to act with good enough information. Exercise 2, the reversibility principle. Not all decisions are the same. Bezos also divides decisions into 2 types. Type 1, decisions are like one-way doors. They are almost irreversible and have massive consequences. Getting married, having a child, selling your company. These decisions deserve slow, careful deliberation. But the vast majority of decisions in life and business are Type 2. They are like revolving doors. They are reversible. If you make a mistake, you can turn back and take another path at a relatively low cost. Should I hire this person? Try this new marketing strategy? Sign up for that course. These are Type 2 decisions. For these decisions, the cost of indecision is much greater than the cost of an error. The right strategy is to decide quickly, act, get feedback from the real world, and if it doesn't work, correct your course. Always ask yourself, is this a one-way door or a revolving door? If it's a revolving door, decide quickly and move. Exercise 3, the decision timer. This is an incredibly practical tool to combat paralysis in medium importance decisions. Give your decision a deadline. If you have to decide on a new supplier, for example, say, I will research for 48 hours, and on Friday at 5 p.m., I will make a decision and not think about it again. Or for smaller decisions, use a literal timer. What movie should I watch tonight? I have 5 minutes to decide. The timer forces you to shift from endless analysis mode to executive choice mode. Exercise 4, the heads or tails oracle. This is a powerful technique for when you are truly stuck between 2 options that seem equally good. It's not an act of chance, but a tool to reveal your intuition. Assign option A to heads and option B to tails. Flip a coin. And now, the crucial part. In the instant the coin is in the air, before it lands, or in the second you see the result, pay attention to your internal emotional reaction. What result are you hoping for? Do you feel a microsecond of relief if it's heads, or a small pang of disappointment if it's tails? That instant emotional reaction is your intuition revealing what you really wanted, beyond your logical analysis. You don't have to obey the coin, you have to obey the feeling the coin has revealed in you. A good decision made on time is infinitely better than a perfect decision made too late. The goal of this training is not to turn you into someone who never makes a mistake. It is to turn you into someone who is never paralyzed. It is to embrace action and learning over the illusion of certainty. Chapter 5. The Tyranny of Impulse. The Fight Against Instant Gratification. Never before in human history have we lived in an environment so hostile to long-term will. Everything around us is optimized for immediacy, for instant rewards, for pleasure with a single click. The food you want, delivered to your door in 30 minutes. The movie you want to watch, instantly available on your screen. Social validation from hundreds of people, served as likes, seconds after you post a photo. We have built a paradise for our most primitive impulses, and in the process, we have created a hell for our higher self, for that part of us that aspires to meaningful, long-term goals. To win this battle, we cannot rely on simple brute force. First, we must understand the enemy. And the enemy is not in your phone or your refrigerator. It's in the neurochemistry of your own brain. Your brain operates with a reward system designed thousands of years ago for a world of scarcity. In that world, if you found a high-energy source, like a honeycomb, the smartest survival strategy was to eat all you could, immediately. This system, driven by the neurotransmitter dopamine, rewarded us for seeking immediate pleasure and avoiding pain. Dopamine, often misnamed the pleasure molecule, is actually the molecule of anticipation and motivation. It's the chemical that drives you to seek the reward. Your brain releases dopamine, not when you eat the cookie, but when you see it on the plate and anticipate the pleasure of eating it. It's the engine of seeking, the wanting. The problem is that our modern environment has hijacked this ancient system. Every notification on our phone, every infinite scroll on a social network, every sensationalist headline is designed to be a small hit of dopamine. It trains us, like rats in a lab, to constantly seek the next small reward, the next novel stimulus. And this constant bombardment has a devastating consequence: desensitization. Your brain gets used to these high levels of artificial stimulation. As a result, it needs ever larger doses to feel the same level of satisfaction and natural, long-term rewards. The subtle joy of reading a book, the deep satisfaction of completing a difficult project, begin to feel boring and bland. They can't compete. This leads us to the heart of willpower, the ability to delay gratification. This is the capacity, perhaps the most important for long-term success, to give up a minor pleasure now for a greater reward in the future. The famous Stanford University marshmallow test clearly demonstrated this. Children who at age 4 were able to resist the temptation to eat one marshmallow immediately to receive 2 later, showed decades later better results in almost every aspect of their lives. Better grades, better health, higher income. The tyranny of impulse turns us all into children who choose without hesitation the first marshmallow. The long-term desire to write a novel, an immense but distant reward, is hijacked by the short-term impulse to watch a 5-minute YouTube video, a small, immediate dopaminergic reward. The long-term desire to build a successful business is sabotaged by the short-term impulse to check social media instead of making that difficult sales call. The long-term desire for deep human connection is eroded by the short-term impulse to seek the superficial validation of likes. In this neurological battle, the prefrontal cortex, the seat of our will and long-term goals, is at an immense disadvantage against the limbic system, the center of impulse and immediate gratification, which is constantly being overstimulated by our environment. But we are not condemned. We can fight back. The key is not brute force, it's not resisting more. The key is strategy. It's about becoming the architect of your own environment, designing it to support your will, not to sabotage it. Practice, reclaiming your sovereignty over dopamine. Strategy 1. The dopamine fast. To resensitize your brain to natural rewards, you need to give it a break from the artificial bombardment. I propose a 24-hour dopamine fast. Choose a weekend day. During those 24 hours, your mission is to eliminate all sources of instant gratification and high stimulation. This means no social media, no news, no YouTube or Netflix, no video games, no junk food, no online shopping. What can you do instead? Low dopamine activities. Read a physical book, write in a journal, take a long walk in nature, meditate, have a deep face-to-face conversation, exercise, cook a healthy meal from scratch, or simply be bored. At first, you will feel incredibly restless and anxious. This is withdrawal. Your brain will be screaming for its usual dose. But if you persevere, at the end of the day, you will notice something amazing. Simple things will feel pleasurable again. Music will sound richer. Food will taste better. A conversation will feel more connected. You have reset your baseline. You don't have to do this every day, but a weekly or monthly fast can do wonders for your ability to concentrate and your willpower. Strategy 2. The high-friction environment design. The principle is simple. Make it hard to do what you don't want to do, and easy to do what you do want to do. For digital distraction, remove all social media apps from your phone. Access them only through the browser, which adds a step of friction. Turn off 99% of notifications. The only notification you need is for phone calls. Set your phone to grayscale mode. Without vibrant colors, your brain will find it much less attractive. During your work blocks, put your phone in another room. The simple presence of your phone on your desk, even face down, has been shown to decrease cognitive capacity. For food temptation, don't bring junk food home. The most important act of will is not performed at 10 p.m. in front of the fridge, but in the supermarket. If it's not in the house, you can't eat it. For productivity, prepare your environment the night before. If you want to exercise in the morning, leave your workout clothes and shoes next to your bed. If you want to write, leave your laptop open on a blank page. Reduce the friction to start the right action. Strategy 3. The 10-minute rule. This is your tool to combat the impulse to procrastinate in real time. When you feel the urge to postpone an important task and seek a distraction, make a pact with yourself. Say, okay, I can do whatever I want, but first, I'm going to work on the important task for just 10 minutes. Set a timer. Often the hardest part is starting. After 10 minutes of work, the inertia will have been broken. It's very likely that by the time the alarm sounds, you will be in a state of flow and want to continue. And if not, you give yourself permission to stop without guilt. But you will have made 10 minutes of progress. The battle against instant gratification is not a battle won once. It's a daily practice. It's the conscious act of choosing, again and again, the long-term reward of growth and meaning over the ephemeral pleasure of distraction. You are not a victim of algorithms. You are the architect of your own attention. Every time you deliberately choose where to put your focus, you are exercising your will. Every time you close a useless tab, every time you postpone checking your phone, every time you choose productive boredom over easy entertainment, you are strengthening your invisible muscle. Chapter 6. The Captain's Fatigue, Decision Fatigue, and How to Fight It. Imagine the captain of a great ship in the midst of a storm. His job is monumental. He must read maps, interpret the winds, give precise orders, stay calm, and, above all, hold the helm firmly to stay on course. For the first few hours, his focus is absolute. His decisions are sharp and his energy seems inexhaustible. But what happens after 12, 14, 16 hours of uninterrupted effort? The captain, no matter how strong and experienced, gets tired. His attention begins to waver. His decisions become slower, less precise. He starts taking shortcuts, choosing the easiest option instead of the most correct one. It's not that he has become a bad captain. His energy has simply been depleted. This is the experience we live every day. Our prefrontal cortex, the captain of our mind, is not an indefatigable machine. It is a biological muscle that, as we've seen, fatigues with use. This phenomenon, decision fatigue, is the silent enemy of our greatest achievements. It is why the disciplined, focused me at 9 in the morning becomes the impulsive, gratification-seeking me at 9 at night. Decision fatigue is a form of mental exhaustion that occurs after a prolonged session of decision-making. The crucial thing to understand is that not just big, stressful decisions drain our battery. Every small choice we make, from what clothes to wear in the morning, which route to take to work, how to respond to an email, to what to have for dinner, consumes a small but measurable amount of our volitional energy. At the beginning of the day, our battery is full. We are able to resist temptation, think long-term, and tackle complex tasks. But as the day goes on, and we make dozens, hundreds of small decisions, the battery drains. And when the battery is low, 3 predictable and dangerous things happen. First, our self-control plummets. With the prefrontal cortex fatigued, the more primitive parts of our brain, the ones that seek immediate pleasure, take over. That's why after an exhausting day at work, you're much more likely to skip the gym, order junk food instead of cooking something healthy, or make an impulsive purchase. Your wise self knows what's best, but the captain is too tired to hold the helm. Second, we fall into decision paralysis. Faced with a new choice, no matter how simple, the fatigued mind feels overwhelmed. Instead of evaluating options, we simply postpone the decision. It's the phenomenon of getting home at night and spending an hour looking through the Netflix catalog, unable to choose a movie, until you fall asleep on the couch. Exhaustion makes us prefer inaction to having to spend the last drop of energy on another choice. And third, we resort to mental shortcuts. When the captain is tired, he looks for the simplest route. This often means taking the default decision, the easiest option, or simply saying yes to everything to avoid the effort of saying no. This can lead to commitments we didn't want, accepting tasks that are not ours, or making impulsive and ill-considered financial decisions. Understanding decision fatigue is liberating. It frees you from guilt. You are not weak or undisciplined for giving into temptation at night. You are simply a human being with a finite energy battery. But this understanding also gives you immense responsibility. It forces you to go from being an unconscious spender of your will to becoming a smart manager of your energy. The key to an iron will is not trying to have a bigger battery. It is learning to conserve the energy of the battery you have for the battles that truly matter. It's about strategic management, not brute force. Practice the strategic management of your willpower. Below, I present 4 fundamental strategies to combat decision fatigue and optimize the use of your volitional energy. Strategy 1. Automate the insignificant, the power of routine. Think of the number of trivial decisions you make every morning before leaving the house. What should I wear? What should I eat for breakfast? Should I check my email now or later? Each of these small choices is a small drain on your battery. Multiplied over days and years, the waste is immense. The solution is to create routines. A routine is a series of pre-decided actions that you perform automatically, without spending willpower. Notice some of the world's most successful people, like Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg, known for almost always wearing the same type of clothes. They didn't do it out of a lack of style. They did it to eliminate a trivial decision from their day and conserve that energy for the decisions that truly mattered. Exercise, your uniform for success. You don't have to wear the same clothes every day, but you can decide the night before exactly what you are going to wear. Or you can create a kind of uniform for work days. Exercise, the default breakfast. Choose a healthy breakfast that you like and make it your default option for work days. Variety can wait until the weekend. Exercise, the morning routine. Design a sequence of actions for your first hour of the day and follow it religiously. For example, wake up, drink water, meditate for 10 minutes, exercise for 20 minutes, shower. By automating this first hour, you start the day with your willpower battery almost at 100%. Strategy 2. Prioritize the essential. Eat the frog first. Knowing that your willpower is strongest in the morning, the golden rule of productivity is simple. Do your most important, most difficult, and most self-control requiring task first thing in the day. Author Mark Twain memorably said, "If it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first." Your frog is that crucial task that you know will have the greatest impact on your long-term goals, but which you often postpone because it is difficult or uncomfortable. Exercise, Identify your daily frog. Each night before ending your workday, identify the single most important task you must complete the next day. Your frog. Exercise. Block out. Sacred time. Schedule that task in your calendar as the first thing you will do in your workday, before checking email, before meetings, before the world starts throwing its emergencies at you. Dedicate a block of 60 to 90 minutes of uninterrupted concentration to it. By eating that frog first, you not only ensure that the most important thing gets done, but the rest of your day feels lighter and more productive. Strategy 3. Fuel the captain, the biology of self-control. Willpower is not just mental, it is physical. Your prefrontal cortex needs fuel to function. The food rule. Never make important decisions on an empty stomach. Lack of glucose is the #1 enemy of self-control. If you are facing a difficult afternoon of work, make sure you have healthy snacks on hand that provide you with sustained energy, not sugar spikes followed by a crash. The rest rule. Sleep is perhaps the most powerful willpower recovery tool there is. During deep sleep, your brain is cleansed of metabolic toxins and recharges its energy reserves. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep is not a luxury. It is a strategic necessity. A single night of poor sleep can drastically reduce your prefrontal cortex activity the next day. Strategy 4. The power of pre-commitment. This is an advanced strategy for the great battles of will. A pre-commitment is a decision you make in a moment of calm and with a full battery, which forces you to follow the right path in a future moment of temptation. Example, social commitment. If you want to commit to exercising, don't just wish for it. Sign up for a class and pay for it in advance, or agree to train with a friend. The social or financial commitment makes it much more painful not to follow through, giving you an external lever for your willpower. Example, environmental commitment. If you want to avoid eating junk food, the pre-commitment is to not buy it at the supermarket. If you want to avoid distractions, the pre-commitment is to use an app that blocks social media during your work hours. Mastering your will is not about having superhuman strength. It's about being a brilliant strategist. It's about understanding that you are the guardian of an incredibly powerful but limited resource, and designing your life to protect it, conserve it, and deploy it with surgical precision in the battles that truly define your destiny. Chapter 7. The Mind Gym. How to Train Your Willpower. Welcome to your Mind Gym. In this chapter, we will move from theory to practice. I will provide you with a training program, a series of exercises designed to strengthen your prefrontal cortex and increase your capacity for self-control and determination. The fundamental principle of any strength training is progressive overload. You don't walk into a gym for the first time and try to lift the heaviest weight. That would only lead to injury. You start with a weight that is manageable but challenging, and as you get stronger, you gradually increase the resistance. The muscle grows in response to this constant and progressive challenge. The willpower muscle operates on the exact same principle. Trying to change all your bad habits overnight is like trying to lift 200 kilos without ever having trained. You are bound to fail and feel frustrated. The path of the willpower master is the path of patience and intelligent progression. Our training program will be divided into 2 types of exercises, just like in a physical gym. On one hand, we have resistance training, to strengthen our ability to say no, and on the other, persistence training, to strengthen our ability to say yes. Resistance training, strengthening your inner no. The ability to resist an impulse to say no to instant gratification is one of the main functions of willpower. Every time you exercise this power, you are doing a rep for your self-control muscle. Here are some exercises, from least to most difficult. Beginner level exercise, the posture fast. This is one of the simplest and most effective exercises. Choose a period of time. It can be just 10 or 15 minutes a day, during which you will sit or stand completely straight. No slouching. You will notice that within a few minutes, your body will want to return to its usual hunched posture. Every time you notice that impulse and consciously straighten your back again, you are performing a repetition. You are using your will to override an automatic physical habit. It's a low-risk exercise you can do anywhere. Intermediate level exercise, the non-dominant hand challenge. Choose a simple task you do every day automatically. Brushing your teeth, opening doors, using the computer mouse. Now, for a week, Commit to performing that task exclusively with your non-dominant hand. This exercise is incredibly powerful because it forces you to break a deeply ingrained neurological habit. Every second you are using your clumsy hand will require conscious concentration and willpower, massively strengthening the connections in your prefrontal cortex. Advanced level exercise, the conscious temptation. This is the heavy lifting of self-control. Identify one of your small habitual temptations. A chocolate chip cookie, checking a specific social network, watching a short video. Now, instead of trying to avoid it, you are going to use it to train. Place the temptation in plain sight. Put the cookie on a plate on your desk. Leave the app icon on your home screen. And now, set a timer for 15 minutes. Your only task is to work on something else while you feel the urge to give in to the temptation. Don't fight the urge. Observe it. Feel it grow and then diminish. Every time the impulse appears and you consciously choose not to act, it's as if you're doing a push-up with your willpower muscle. You are teaching your brain that you are in charge, not your impulses. Persistence training, strengthening your sustained yes. Willpower is not just about resisting the negative. It is, more importantly, about persisting in the positive. It is the ability to stay on course toward your long-term goals, especially when the path becomes difficult or boring. Beginner-level exercise, the 2-minute rule. Often, the hardest part of any task is simply starting. Inertia is the enemy of action. This rule, popularized by author James Clear, is the perfect antidote. Choose a habit you want to install. Meditating, reading, exercising, writing. Now, reduce the commitment to just 2 minutes. Your goal is not to meditate for half an hour. Your goal is to sit and meditate for 2 minutes. The willpower needed to start something for 2 minutes is incredibly small. Anyone can do it. The magic of this rule is that often, once you have overcome the initial resistance and started, it is much easier to continue. The goal of willpower is not to complete the task, but simply to start it. Intermediate level exercise, the chain counter. This technique, attributed to comedian Jerry Seinfeld, is a powerful tool for building consistency. Choose a single daily habit that is crucial to your long-term goal. Buy a large wall calendar and a red marker. Every day you complete your habit, draw a big red X over that day. After a few days, you will have a chain. Your only job from that moment on is not to break the chain. This method harnesses several psychological forces: the visual satisfaction of seeing your progress, and the loss aversion you feel at the thought of breaking a long, well-built chain. You are turning discipline into a game that your willpower wants to win. Advanced level exercise, deliberate practice. True mastery in any field doesn't come from simple repetition, but from deliberate practice. This means consistently working at the edge of your comfort zone, focusing on improving a specific aspect of a skill. Choose a skill you want to master. Dedicate a block of time. It can be 30 or 60 minutes to practicing it, but with a clear intention to improve in an aspect where you are weak. The act of voluntarily facing the discomfort of not being good at something, of making mistakes and correcting them, is a very high-level training for the muscle of perseverance. The nutrition and recovery of your muscle. No training program is complete without a nutrition and rest plan. You can have the best intentions, but if your willpower muscle doesn't have fuel or is fatigued, you will fail. The willpower diet. As we saw, the fuel for your prefrontal cortex is glucose. But not all glucose is created equal. Eating a sweet will give you a quick energy spike, followed by a crash, leaving your willpower even weaker. The key is a diet that keeps your blood sugar levels stable, complex carbohydrates, oats, vegetables, protein, and healthy fats. Restorative sleep. Sleep is not a luxury. It is a strategic necessity. It is during deep sleep that your brain cleanses itself of metabolic toxins and recharges its energy reserves for the next day. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep is one of the most important self-discipline practices there are. Active rest. Throughout the day, your willpower muscle needs breaks. But a break looking at social media is not rest. It's a different kind of energy expenditure. True active rest involves practices that calm your nervous system, such as meditation, deep breathing, or a short walk in nature. These practices are like stretching for your muscles. They release tension and prepare you for the next effort. Practice. Design your mind gym routine. Exercise 1. Choose your exercises. Based on your energy audit from the previous chapter, choose your training program for the next week. Be realistic. Choose one resistance exercise, e.g., straight posture for 15 minutes a day. Choose one persistence exercise, e.g., the 2-minute rule for reading every night. Write them down. Exercise 2. Schedule your workout. A goal without a plan is just a wish. Open your calendar right now and schedule your mind gym sessions. When and where are you going to practice your posture exercise? At what exact time are you going to apply the 2-minute rule? Treat this commitment to yourself with the same seriousness as a meeting with your most important boss. Exercise 3. The training journal. At the end of each day, dedicate 2 minutes to recording your progress. Did I do my willpower reps today? Yes, no. How did I feel? Was it easier or harder than yesterday? What have I learned about my own resistance and impulses? This simple act of tracking creates an awareness and responsibility that will accelerate your progress exponentially. Willpower is not a mystical gift you are born with or without. It is a skill that is built just like any other. With intelligent, progressive, and consistent training, you can go from being a beginner in the mind gym to becoming a true athlete of discipline. Training strengthens your muscles so you can lift bigger weights and sustain longer efforts. But the smartest athlete doesn't just rely on their brute strength. They build an environment and systems that make the lifting feel lighter. That is the art of self-discipline. Chapter 8. The Art of Self-Discipline. Building systems, not just effort. Willpower, as we've trained it, is your ability to act in moments of resistance. It's the brute force you use to fight an impulse, to focus despite distractions, to take one more step when you're exhausted. It's your shock infantry, your emergency force. Self-discipline, on the other hand, is the art of strategy. It is the wisdom of designing a life where the need to use willpower is minimized. If willpower is playing defense, reacting to threats, self-discipline is playing offense, designing the playing field to your advantage. Relying solely on willpower to achieve your long-term goals is a strategy destined for failure. As we already know, willpower is a limited and fluctuating resource. It depends on your energy level, your mood, whether you slept well, or whether you had a stressful day. Building the building of your dreams on such a volatile foundation is incredibly risky. The true goal isn't to become a superhero who can resist any temptation at any time. The true goal is to become so smart in designing your life that temptations don't even appear on your radar. It's about making your desired behaviors the default option, the path of least resistance, so they happen automatically, even on days when your willpower battery is at 0. This is achieved through systems. A system is a structure or a process you design in a moment of clarity to guide your future, less disciplined self. A system is the wise architect who designs a city with bike lanes and accessible parks so that citizens move more without needing to use their willpower to go to the gym. Principle 1. Be the architect of your environment. The most fundamental law of human behavior is this. We are creatures deeply influenced by our environment. Often your behavior is not the product of your personality or your discipline, but of the cues and options that surround you. Changing your environment is the fastest and most effective way to change your behavior. The art of self-discipline is the art of environmental architecture. It consists of adding friction to bad habits and removing friction from good habits. Want to stop compulsively checking your phone? The willpower strategy is to have it next to you and fight the urge every 5 minutes. It's exhausting. The system strategy is to add friction. Leave your phone in another room while you work. The battle has been won without a fight. Want to eat healthier? The willpower strategy is to have a pantry full of junk food and resist it. The system strategy is to design your environment. Don't buy the junk food and put the fruit and vegetables in plain sight and within easy reach. You make the healthy option the easy option. Want to read more and watch less TV? Reduce the friction of the good habit by leaving a book on your nightstand. Increase the friction of the bad habit by taking the batteries out of the remote control and putting them in a kitchen drawer. That small 20-second effort will often be enough for your brain, which is lazy by nature, to choose the path of least resistance. The book. Principle 2. Turn your willpower into automated habits. A habit is the ultimate behavioral system. It's an action your brain has learned to perform on autopilot to save energy. An installed habit consumes almost none of your willpower battery. The most effective way to build a new habit is not with motivation, but by anchoring it to an existing system. This technique is known as habit stacking. The formula is, after current habit, I will do new habit. The current habit, like brushing your teeth or making coffee, is the cue that is already firmly established in your brain. By stacking the new habit right after it, you are using an existing neural structure to build the new one. Instead of the vague intention of, I want to meditate more, the system is, after I brush my teeth in the morning, current habit, I will sit and meditate for 2 minutes, new habit. Instead of I should exercise more, the system is, right after I take off my work shoes, current habit, I will put on my workout clothes, new habit. Notice that the new routine is incredibly small. The goal is to automate the behavior of starting. Once the routine of putting on workout clothes is automatic, the resistance to exercising itself decreases drastically. Principle 3, the power of pre-commitment. A pre-commitment is a system you design in the present to control your future, tempted self. It is the supreme act of strategic self-discipline. It is the Odysseus who ties himself to the ship's mast, so he can hear the siren's song without succumbing to it. He is using intelligence, not strength. There are several types of pre-commitment. The financial pre-commitment, this is the most direct. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings or investment account the day you receive your salary. This way, the wise you at the beginning of the month is making the decision to save, and the tempted you at the end of the month doesn't even see that money as an option to spend. The social pre-commitment, the accountability pact. Find a trusted friend and make a pact. My goal is to go to the gym 3 times a week. Every week I don't meet it, I'll pay you $50. Or, I will send you a picture from the gym every time I go. The fear of financial loss or social embarrassment is an incredibly powerful motivator. The environmental pre-commitment. This is the simplest form. If you want to avoid digital distractions while working, use an app that blocks specific websites for a period of time. The focused you, in the present, is putting a lock on the door of distraction, knowing that the future tempted you will not have the strength to look for the key. Practice. Building your self-discipline systems. Exercise 1. The struggle diagnosis. Choose an area of your life where you feel you are spending a disproportionate amount of willpower each day. Is it your diet, your productivity, your finances? Now answer this question. Where am I relying on willpower instead of having built a system? For example, I am relying on my willpower to not eat cookies at night instead of having a system to not buy them in the first place. I am relying on my willpower to start working on my project instead of having a system of a distraction-free environment and a clear starting routine. Identifying the exact point of struggle is the first step to designing a systemic solution. Exercise 2. Design your first system. Based on your diagnosis, choose a single problem and design a simple system to solve it. Use the principles we've seen. Problem. I compulsively check my phone in the morning. System. Tonight, I'm going to leave my phone charging in the kitchen, not on my nightstand. Environmental design. Instead, I'll put a book there. Friction reduction for the good habit. My new habit will be, after I turn off the alarm, I will sit down and read 1 page of my book, Habit Stacking. Exercise 3. Make a 1-week pre-commitment. Choose a goal for the next week. And now, create a pre-commitment that makes it almost impossible not to follow through. Goal? I want to write for 30 minutes every day. Pre-commitment. I'm going to give my best friend $100. If at the end of each day I have sent him a picture of my written work, I get to keep it. For every day I fail, he gets to keep $15 of that money. This type of pact transforms a simple intention into a commitment with real consequences. Self-discipline is not a character trait you are born with. It is the result of intelligent design. It is the art of no longer being the hero who fights the dragons of temptation every day, and becoming the architect who designs a castle where the dragons simply cannot enter. By building systems and habits, you don't eliminate the need for willpower. You free it. You free it from the trivial day-to-day battles so it can be fresh, charged, and ready to be deployed on its true mission, taking the bold and sustained decisions that will lead you to the peak of your potential. But what happens when life throws a storm so big that even the best systems are threatened? For that, we need a more advanced form of willpower, one that knows when to be firm as a rock and when to flow like water. Chapter 9. Flexible willpower. The steel that bends, not breaks. This image of an iron will is one that our culture admires and glorifies. It's the leader who never doubts, the athlete who never gives in, the entrepreneur who breaks through walls with sheer force. It's an image of rigidity, of unyielding determination. And it is often a model for failure. Because iron, despite its impressive hardness, has a fatal weakness. It is brittle. When faced with too much pressure or an unexpected impact, iron doesn't bend. It breaks. In the same way, a purely rigid will, which only knows how to push forward without adapting, is destined to break when faced with the complexity and unpredictability of real life. We now arrive at a more advanced stage in the mastery of ourselves. A stage that requires not only strength, but also wisdom. It is time to evolve from an iron will to a steel will. What's the difference? Steel, especially of the highest quality, like that of a samurai sword, is forged through a process of repeated heating, hammering, and cooling. This process not only hardens it, but gives it a quality that iron does not possess: flexibility. A good steel blade can be bent into almost a circle and then returned to its original shape without losing its edge. It is this combination of hardness and flexibility that makes it invincible. A steel will, therefore, is not weaker than an iron one. It is infinitely stronger. It is a will that possesses two qualities in perfect balance: an unbreakable determination in the destination and infinite adaptability in the route. The person with an iron will says, "I will reach that mountain, and I will do it by going through this forest in a straight line, no matter how many trees I have to knock down." The person with a steel will says, "I will reach that mountain, and if the forest is too dense, I'll go around it. If the river is too swollen, I'll walk along its bank until I find a bridge. If a storm comes, I'll seek shelter and wait. My destination is not negotiable. My strategy is." This is the wisdom of water, which is the softest and at the same time most powerful substance on earth. Water never tries to break a rock with a single frontal blow. It flows around it, patiently erodes it, finds every crack, and over time, the most imposing rock turns into sand. Flexible willpower is the application of this wisdom to our goals. It is the art of finding the line of least resistance. To cultivate this higher form of willpower, we must learn to handle 3 strategic tactics. Tactic 1, the strategic pivot. When you encounter a massive obstacle in your path, the reaction of an iron will is to persevere, which often means push harder. Sometimes this is necessary, but many other times, the obstacle is not a test of your perseverance. It is a signal from reality telling you with all the subtlety of a brick wall that your strategy is wrong. The strategic pivot is the ability to detach from your initial plan and adapt to new information without abandoning your final goal. It's not giving up. It's being smart. Imagine an entrepreneur who has invested a year in a product that, upon launching, no one buys. The iron will would say, "I need more marketing, more advertising. I have to force the market to see how brilliant my idea is." Often this leads to bankruptcy. The steel will says, "The market has given me data. My plan A has failed. I'm going to talk to the few people who showed interest. I'm going to understand what they really need, and I'm going to pivot my product to serve that real need." Many of the world's most successful companies did not succeed with their original idea, but with a strategic pivot. To be able to pivot, you need to separate your ego from your strategy. Your strategy is not you. It's just a tool, a hypothesis. If it proves to be incorrect, it doesn't mean you are a failure. It means you are a good scientist who has just obtained valuable data that allows you to formulate a better hypothesis. Tactic 2, the 85% rule. An iron will operates in an all-or-nothing mode. I either do my perfect 1-hour workout routine, or I do nothing. I either write my 2,000 words a day, or the day is a failure. This mindset is incredibly fragile. The moment an unexpected event prevents you from meeting your goal 100%, you are very likely to fall into the "what the hell" effect. Well, I've already failed today, so it doesn't matter. I'll eat the whole pizza and do nothing. A steel will, on the other hand, understands the 85% rule. Elite athlete coaches know that peak sustainable performance is not achieved by training at 100% of your capacity every day. That only leads to burnout and injuries. Optimal growth occurs by consistently operating at around 85% of your maximum. Applying this to your willpower means giving yourself permission to be human. It means the goal is not perfection, it's consistency. If your goal is to write 1,000 words a day, and one day you only have the energy or time to write 800, you don't consider it a failure. You consider it a victory. You've met 85%. You've kept the chain going. You've been consistent. This flexibility protects you from burnout and the all-or-nothing cycle, and in the long run it allows you to achieve much more. Tactic 3, the deliberate pause. Sometimes the most powerful act of will is to do nothing at all. When you face an overwhelmingly complex situation, a decision where you don't see a clear path, or an obstacle that seems insurmountable, the iron will's instinct is frantic action. It's trying to force a solution, it's activity for activity's sake. A steel will has the courage to take a deliberate pause. It is the ability to consciously withdraw from the battlefield to gain perspective. This pause is not procrastination, it's an active strategy. It communicates to your subconscious mind, I have reached the limit of my logical capacity. Now I hand the problem over to you. I trust you to find a creative solution. By taking a walk, taking a shower, sleeping, or simply focusing on something else, you allow your deep mind, with its immense capacity for parallel processing, to work on the problem in the background. Often, the solution then appears as a flash of intuition, a synchronicity, an idea that comes out of nowhere. The deliberate pause is the art of knowing when to stop rowing and simply let the current show you the way. Practice, training your willpower's flexibility. Exercise 1, the plan A, B, and C. Rigidity is born from the fear that our only plan will fail. Flexibility is born from the confidence of having alternatives. Choose your most important goal right now. Dedicate an hour to outlining your plan A, your main and most obvious strategy to achieve it. Now, dedicate another hour to a counterintuitive task. Assume that plan A will fail completely. What would your plan B be? What completely different route could you take to get to the same destination? And finally, imagine that plan B also fails. What is your plan C? Your strangest and most creative option. This exercise does 3 things. It drastically reduces your fear of failure, because you realize you have multiple paths. It forces you to think more creatively and strategically, and it mentally prepares you to pivot if necessary. Exercise 2, the scheduled chaos day. Our routines and systems are powerful, but they can also become cages that make us rigid. Once a month, schedule a chaos day. On this day, your goal is to deliberately break as many of your small routines as possible. Take a completely different route to work. Eat something you've never tried. Talk to a stranger. Work in a cafe instead of your office. Read a book from a genre you normally hate. This exercise is like a stretching session for your willpower. It pulls you out of your automatic patterns, forces you to be conscious and adaptable, and teaches you that you can thrive perfectly well outside your comfort zone. Exercise 3, the Obstacle Lessons Journal. The next time you encounter a significant obstacle, one that frustrates and blocks you before trying to overcome it, pause. Open your journal and answer this question. If this obstacle were not an enemy, but a teacher in disguise, what crucial lesson would it be trying to teach me about my strategy, my approach, or my own rigidity? This simple act of reframing transforms the obstacle from an adversary to an ally. It forces you to seek wisdom in resistance, to see the feedback that reality is offering you. It is the first step to moving from fighting the wall to looking for the door. The strongest will is not the one that never bends, but the one that knows when to bend so as not to break. It is the one that combines the determination of a mountain with the adaptability of a river. The true mastery of willpower is not found in rigid control, but in an elegant and wise dance between your unshakable intention and ever-changing reality. Chapter 10. The Final Mastery, From Willpower to Habit. Think of a master of any discipline. A concert pianist doesn't think about where to place each finger to play a Beethoven sonata. Their fingers dance across the keys with a fluidity that seems supernatural. A race car driver doesn't consciously decide every turn of the wheel at 300 kilometers per hour. Their body and the car are one. A master carpenter doesn't force the wood. He feels it, understands it, and shapes it with an ease that seems instinctive. In each case, what was once an act of incredibly concentrated and conscious willpower has, through thousands of hours of practice, become something much more powerful, a deeply ingrained habit. The action has been transferred from the struggling conscious captain to the incredibly efficient and automatic engine room of the subconscious. This is the final mastery. It is not about having an infinitely strong will to fight every battle. It is about becoming so wise and skilled in designing your life that the daily battles simply disappear. It is about moving from conscious competence, where you have to think about every step, to unconscious competence, where excellence becomes your second nature. The goal of this journey is not to become a soldier of willpower for life. It is to use willpower as the scaffolding to build the magnificent building of your habits. And once the building is built, the scaffolding can be removed. To achieve this transition, we must understand the anatomy of a habit. A habit is not just an action we repeat. It is a neurological loop that our brain creates to save energy. This loop, as described by author Charles Duhigg, consists of three parts: a cue, a routine, and a reward. The cue is the trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode and execute a habit. It can be a time of day, a place, an emotional state, or the action that immediately precedes it. Seeing the coffee maker in the morning is a cue. Feeling stressed is a cue. The routine is the action itself, whether physical, mental, or emotional. It is the act of making your coffee, picking up your phone, or eating the cookie. And the reward is what tells your brain that this particular loop is worth remembering and repeating in the future. It's the pleasant feeling of the first sip of coffee, the momentary distraction of social media, the sugar rush from the cookie. Over time, this loop becomes so strong that a fourth element is created: craving. Your brain begins to anticipate the reward as soon as it sees the cue. And this craving is the force that drives the habit automatically, without your conscious will having to intervene. This entire process is neutral. The brain uses the same mechanism to build the habit of exercising as it does to build the habit of smoking. It does not judge. It simply seeks efficiency. Our task as architects of ourselves is to use this mechanism deliberately. It is to consciously choose the habits we want to install and design a loop that guarantees their success. It is the final act of taking control of our own programming. From intention to habit, the automation process. Step 1. Choose your keystone habit. Don't try to change everything at once. Choose a single habit that, if you installed it in your life, would create a positive domino effect in all other areas. This is known as a keystone habit. For many people, daily exercise is a keystone habit. When you exercise, you don't just improve your health. You also sleep better, have less stress, eat healthier, and are more productive. For others, it can be daily meditation, which improves focus and patience, or it can be a morning routine, which sets a positive tone for the entire day. Choose a single keystone habit to focus on for the next 2 months. Step 2. Design the perfect loop. Now use the loop formula to design your habit in a way that is almost impossible to fail. The cue. Make it obvious and unavoidable. Don't say, "I'll exercise in the morning." Be specific. The cue should be, "When I turn off my alarm clock." The routine. Make it ridiculously small at first. The 2-minute rule. Your routine is not run 5 kilometers. Your routine is, "I will put on my workout clothes and shoes." That's it. It's such a simple act that your will can't find an excuse not to do it. The reward. It must be immediate and satisfying. It can't be the long-term reward of being in shape. It has to be something you enjoy right after the routine. For example, "And after, I will enjoy my favorite cup of coffee while I listen to my favorite podcast for 15 minutes. Your complete loop would be, "When I turn off the alarm, cue, I will put on my workout clothes, routine, so I can enjoy my coffee and podcast, reward." Step 3. The willpower period. The construction. Now comes the work. For the first 30, 60, or 90 days, executing this loop will require your conscious will. This is the construction period. This is where you use the muscle you have trained. Every day you complete the loop, you are casting a vote for your new identity. You are digging a new neural groove. Step 4. The tipping point, the automation. And then, one day, it will happen. You'll wake up, And before your conscious mind has time to debate, you'll find yourself with your shoes on. The craving for the reward, the coffee and podcast, will have become stronger than the resistance to the routine. At that moment, you have crossed the threshold. The habit is no longer something you do. It is something you are. The responsibility has been transferred from the struggling conscious captain to the efficient autopilot of the subconscious. Your will now is free for the next great challenge. Practice. The architecture of your new self. Exercise 1. Designing your 66-day keystone habit. Studies from University College London suggest that, on average, it takes 66 days for a new behavior to become automatic. We will use that time frame. Choose your keystone habit. What is the one habit that would have the greatest positive impact on your life right now? Design your loop. Write your cue, routine, starting tiny, and reward loop in your journal. Create your tracker. Print or draw a simple calendar with 66 boxes. Stick it on the wall. Every day you complete your routine, draw a big X. Your only mission for the next 66 days is not to break the chain. Exercise 2. The identity review. A habit is not fully cemented until it becomes part of your identity. During your 66-day challenge, use your journal to rewrite your own story. Don't write, "Today I meditated." Write, "Today I cultivated my inner peace because I am a serene person." Don't write, "Today I wrote 500 words." Write, "Today I advanced my work because I am a writer." Don't write, "Today I went to the gym." Write, "Today I honored my body because I am an athlete." Every time you perform the habit, you are getting a proof point. Use that proof to consciously build a new belief about who you are. Because when a habit becomes part of your identity, the inner struggle disappears forever. You no longer need willpower to be who you are. We have reached the end of our training. We have journeyed from understanding willpower as a muscle to the art of discipline as a system. And finally, to the mastery of habit as an identity. Willpower is not an end in itself. It is a transitional tool. It is the scaffolding you use to build the magnificent building of your habits. Once the building is built, once you have become the person you aspire to be, the scaffolding can be removed, and the structure stands on its own, strong and resilient. The final mastery is not found in having an infinitely strong will. It is found in becoming so wise in the design of your life that you rarely need to use it. You have reached a state of freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of your impulses. Freedom from the exhausting battle against yourself. And the freedom to use your precious conscious energy not for struggle, but for what truly matters. To create, to connect, to lead, and to fully enjoy the life you have deliberately built. Our journey began adrift on the river of life, often feeling like victims of its unpredictable currents. We started with the belief that willpower was a brute force, an exhausting struggle reserved for a few heroes. And throughout this path, we have transformed that belief. We have discovered that willpower is a muscle that can be trained, an energy that can be managed, and a steel that can be made flexible. We have learned that the secret lies not in the strength of the soldier who fights every battle, but in the wisdom of the architect who designs an environment where victory is inevitable. We have moved from brute force to strategy, from struggle to systems, and finally, from conscious willpower to the silent power of habit. The final paradox is this. The goal of mastering willpower is to free yourself from the need to use it. True discipline does not lead to a life of rigidity and restriction, but to a life of freedom. Freedom from your own impulses. Freedom from the tyranny of instant gratification. Freedom from the paralysis of doubt. It is the freedom to use your conscious energy and attention, not to fight with yourself, but to create, to connect, and to live fully. True willpower is not a cage of discipline, but the key that opens all doors. It is the power to deliberately choose your thoughts, your actions, and ultimately, the person you become. Your journey doesn't end with these words. It begins with your next choice. Look at the keystone habit you designed in the last chapter. The next time its cue appears, tomorrow morning, at your next meal, in your next work session, that is your moment. It's not a test. It's an opportunity to cast a vote for the person you have decided to be. You are not a leaf carried by the wind. You are the architect of your destiny. Brief pause in narration. The background music remains very soft. If this journey to forge your inner power has resonated with you, we invite you to continue this exploration by subscribing to our channel, Path of Knowledge. A like on this audiobook is the signal that tells us this content has empowered you. And if you believe this message could be the rudder someone else needs, we encourage you to share it. Thank you for your time and for the brave decision to become the master of your own will. See you next time.